I'll take your card for gas. My sister smiled. But by morning, $4,900 was gone. Mom just shrugged. It's family, don't make a scene. I didn't. That night, I closed the joint account. The next day, she tried paying her landlord. The decline echoed through the hallway, and then the screaming started. I think what pissed me off the most was how casual she was about it. Like asking for my debit card was no different than asking for a glass of water. She didn't even hesitate, just held out her hand and said, I'll take your card, just for gas. And I gave it to her. It had been a long week. I'd spent the past 6 days bouncing between client meetings and late nights finalizing 2 separate software rollouts at work. My back hurt, I hadn't eaten anything besides protein bars and takeout, and I was too tired to argue. My sister, Kayla, had already been staying at my place for nearly 2 weeks, supposedly while she looked for an apartment closer to her university. She was 22, smart, and capable, but none of that ever seemed to translate into basic responsibility. She smiled like it was all a game. That same smug little smirk she always wore when she thought she'd gotten away with something. I had seen that look before, usually right before something expensive went missing, or a lie unraveled 2 weeks too late. But I didn't say anything. I handed her the card, told her to only use it for gas, and went to bed. Maybe somewhere in the back of my mind I knew she'd push it. But I wasn't prepared for just how far she'd go. The next morning, I checked the balance before heading to work, just a habit I picked up after years of supporting people who didn't seem to understand how money works. When I saw the number, I thought it was a glitch. $4,900. Gone. At first, I actually laughed. Like out loud. Because my brain couldn't process it. There had to be a mistake. A duplicated transaction maybe? A pending hold. But then I scrolled through the activity. $487 at some boutique shoe store downtown. $1,200 to a luxury spa resort in Malibu. Another $700 on what I later figured out was a reservation for a rooftop dinner for 10. A deposit on a party bus. Drinks. More drinks. Clothes. Makeup. A late-night Uber Black. She'd gone full meltdown mode with the card. Celebrating, apparently, because she was finally about to move out, if you could call moving into an overpriced student complex. Freedom. She blew through almost $5,000 in a single night like it was Monopoly money. And she didn't say a word. When I got home, she was curled up on my couch like nothing had happened. Watching reality TV on my account, using my Wi-Fi, under my roof. She asked if I had almond milk like it was any other morning. No apology. No explanation. No acknowledgement. I just looked at her. I didn't say anything. I didn't yell. I didn't demand she return the money. I knew exactly how that would play out. It would become a group chat with Mom, where she'd make herself the victim. Mom would say I was too hard on her. That she's still young. That it's just money. So I waited. She left around 7 that evening. I didn't ask where she was going. Probably off to party again, thinking she was about to start her new, independent, life in her new apartment. That she had one final night of chaos before pretending to grow up. The moment the door closed, I went straight to my laptop, logged into our joint bank account, and shut it down. Transferred the remaining $63 into my personal account. Cancelled the card. Locked her out. She didn't know it yet, but the real party was over. And tomorrow, when she tried to pay her first month's rent with a card that no longer existed, was going to be the first time in her life she would learn what consequences actually feel like. I didn't smile when I logged out of the bank's website. But I can tell you this, I slept like a baby. She was gone when I woke up. No blender screaming through the walls, no passive-aggressive humming in the kitchen, no. Bran, can I borrow your jacket? Nonsense. Nothing. I checked the clock. 9:02 a.m. I had a few meetings lined up for work, but I knew exactly where she was. Dressed up, probably in something new from her spree, holding that same "I get what I want" expression on her face, confidently handing over my card to a leasing agent who had no idea what kind of storm was coming. At 10:17 a.m., the first text came through. Kayla. Hey, your card declined. You moved money or something? I didn't reply. I just watched the notification disappear and got back to the call I was on. My team was reviewing a client portal migration, high stakes, tight deadlines, and all I could think about was how much I used to drop everything the second she messaged. Not today. At 10:21 a.m. Kayla. It's still declining. I'm literally standing here. It's embarrassing. Fix it. I locked my phone and flipped it over. 10 minutes later, she called. I let it ring. She called again from another number, the leasing office. Straight to voicemail. Then at 10:43, she left a voice message. I didn't even need to play it. I could already picture her, panicking. That artificial confidence cracking. That sweet voice turning sharp the second people didn't bend for her. By 11 o'clock, my mom's name popped up on my screen. Mom, what's going on? Kayla's upset. Just help her this once. I didn't even open it. Then came the messages in our family group chat. My parents, both my brothers, Kayla, and me. Dad. Brandon, seriously. You cut her off? Mom. You closed the account? Without saying anything? Kayla. You're insane. That one made me smile. She spelled it out. I closed the account. Around 11:30, I got a voicemail from the apartment complex. A woman with a clipped tone explained that there had been a scene involving my sister, that she had caused a disruption in their lobby when her payment was declined 3 times in a row, and that they were reconsidering her application. I didn't even get mad. I forwarded the voicemail to my mom with no message. A few seconds later, I watched her typing. Then she stopped. No reply. By 12:04, the front door slammed open. I didn't need to guess who it was. She walked into my room like it was hers. Her cheeks were blotchy, hair a mess, like she just walked through a storm of her own making. She didn't start with a hello. Where is the money? She paced. Started yelling. Accused me of sabotaging her life. Said I humiliated her, that I'd messed up her future. That she was supposed to be signing the lease, that she had already told her friends she was moving out, and now she looked like a fool. Her voice kept rising, listing off everything I'd ruined. I said exactly 9 words. You blew $4,900 on garbage. That account's gone. She stopped. It was like her brain didn't know what to do with that sentence. The silence stretched. And then she said something I'll never forget. You always do this. You act like you're better than us just because you have money. Us. That word. As if I hadn't spent the last 10 years paying for them. As if the job I built, the life I carved out, the hours I sacrificed to keep everything functioning made me the villain. She stormed out. 5 minutes later, my mom called. Her tone was soft, too soft. Like I was a loaded gun. She said she understood I was upset, but that I needed to be reasonable. That Kayla was still finding her footing. That I could fix this, without hurting anyone. I told her the money was gone, and if it wasn't paid back, I'd get a lawyer involved. That was it. She went quiet. Then she said it, the phrase that always came when things got uncomfortable. It's family, Brandon. Don't make a scene. She might as well have said, lie down, take it, like always. But this time, I didn't. And something about that scared them more than any yelling ever could. By evening, the group chat was a war zone. Kayla had switched from anger to victim mode. She was posting long messages about how I had betrayed her, how she was on the verge of being homeless, and how this whole thing was a cruel overreaction. She even sent a screenshot of her empty Venmo balance like that somehow proved her innocence. Then my mom started adding comments about how money shouldn't come between siblings, followed by some philosophical quote about forgiveness. My dad chimed in with a half-hearted suggestion that everyone calm down, which, in dad language, meant, Brandon, fix it quietly so I don't have to deal with your mother tonight. The only ones not commenting were my Uncle Jerry and my grandfather. Which, honestly, didn't surprise me. They were the only 2 people in my family who had ever really seen how things worked behind the curtain. Uncle Jerry called me around 7. He didn't ask what happened, he just said, you're doing the right thing. Don't let them guilt you back into it. Then he hung up. No fluff. Just facts. Grandpa sent a text. Just 5 words. About time you stood up. That one hit hard. It wasn't until the next day that Mom pulled the trigger. She arranged a family discussion at their house. No explanation, just a message that said, tonight. Everyone needs to be there. We need to settle this. I showed up. Not because I was scared or needed to explain myself, but because I wanted them to look me in the eye and try to justify what they'd been doing for years. When I walked into the house, they were already gathered. Mom, Dad, Kayla, seated like they were waiting for the trial to begin. My younger brother, Alex, sat in the corner, pretending to be on his phone. My other brother, Jeremy, hadn't even shown up. Probably smart on his part. Mom started first. She said she understood there had been mistakes, but insisted this wasn't the way to handle them. That threatening legal action against your own sister was heartless. Dad nodded. He brought up how we're stronger as a family, and how public embarrassment could hurt Kayla's chances with her apartment complex and future job prospects. Then Kayla stood up, arms crossed, and said she didn't deserve this level of punishment. That it was just money. That she thought I would be okay with it. That she had planned to pay it back eventually. I let them finish. Then I pulled out my phone, opened the banking app, and set it on the table. I scrolled through the transactions out loud. A $700 dinner with friends. A $1,200 spa day. A $900 clothing binge. A $500 party bus rental. And the rest scattered across Uber rides, beauty appointments, and drinks. Then I said it plainly. You lied. You stole. And the only reason you're sitting here pretending to be sorry is because the card stopped working. She didn't argue that. She just said, you're blowing it out of proportion. I looked at my parents. I told them this was the last time. That I had spent years bailing everyone out. Fixing messes. Quietly transferring money. Covering for Kayla, and sometimes even for them. That they'd raised someone who didn't understand what consequences were, because they never gave her any. Then I said what I came to say. If the money wasn't repaid, I would file a report. I already had a lawyer willing to handle it. And I wouldn't be guilt, shamed, or dragged into another family talk to be told why I was the problem. There was silence. Then, to my surprise, Grandpa spoke up. He had been sitting quietly in the back, cane in one hand, cup of black coffee in the other. He looked straight at my parents and said, Brandon's the only one here acting like an adult. Maybe that's why you're all so uncomfortable. That was the moment everything shifted. Mom looked like she'd swallowed glass. Kayla stormed out. Dad just leaned back in his chair and rubbed his face. I stood up. Told them I was done being the fallback plan. Done being the safety net. And I walked out. For the first time, I didn't look back. 2 days passed with radio silence. No texts, no calls. The group chat went cold. Even Kayla vanished from social media, which for her was like going off the grid. I figured they were either stewing or regrouping. Probably both. On the third morning, I got a text from Dad. Dad, come by when you can. We're sorting it. I ignored it. Then later that night, Uncle Jerry called. Said he'd been over at my parents' place, and that something weird was going on. They were acting jumpy, avoiding questions, whispering in the kitchen like they were planning something. He said Kayla was back there too, but she wasn't talking, just pacing around the house like a stray cat looking for a way out. I didn't really care. That is, until the next morning when I logged into my credit monitoring app and saw an alert. New inquiry, apartment credit check Westfield Towers LLC. My stomach dropped. That was a different apartment complex from the one Kayla had originally tried to move into. A more expensive one. I googled it. Luxury place, rooftop pool, concierge service, units starting at $2,300 a month. Definitely not somewhere you move into after blowing $5,000 you didn't have. I called the leasing office and asked about the application, pretending I was checking for a fraud alert. They said someone named Brandon L. Carter had applied for a co-signed lease on a 2-bedroom unit. I froze. That was me. Full name, social, everything. She had used my info. Again. I was halfway through the call with the fraud department when my mom called. I didn't answer. I waited until I had the incident logged, the flag placed on my credit file, and a fraud alert activated. Then I drove straight to my parents' house without warning. This time, I didn't knock. Kayla was in the living room, curled up with a laptop. She flinched when she saw me. Mom walked in from the kitchen, immediately tense. Dad stood up from the dining table like he was trying to prepare for a speech. I went straight to the point. Said I knew about the new lease application. Knew she had used my name. And that this wasn't just family drama anymore, it was criminal. And then, out of nowhere, Mom admitted it. She said she helped Kayla fill it out. That they thought if she had a nicer place, she'd take life more seriously. That they used my information just to get her through approval, and planned to make the payments themselves once everything calmed down. I was stunned. They had taken my name, my credit, my identity, again, without asking, and justified it as some kind of parental strategy. Dad said he thought I wouldn't mind, that I was already successful, and this wouldn't affect me in the long run. That's when I told them I had already filed the report. That the leasing office had flagged it as identity fraud, and the police would be following up. That I was done shielding them. And if charges were filed, I wouldn't stop them. Kayla started crying. Mom told me I was being cruel. Dad sat down and didn't say a word after that. Then Grandpa called. I picked up. I told him everything. He didn't hesitate. Move your money. Change your passwords. And come stay at my place if you need space to think. That night, I moved my checking and savings to a different bank. Changed every password. Froze my credit. The next morning, I left a written letter in their mailbox saying I was cutting contact for the foreseeable future. Until they repaid what was stolen, came clean about what they did, and showed actual accountability. I was out. I didn't expect what happened next. 2 days later, a manila envelope showed up at my apartment. No return address. Inside was a cashier's check for $4,900. And a note in my mom's handwriting. We hope this fixes things. Please don't tell anyone else. I folded it back into the envelope and didn't respond. Fixing things would take a lot more than money. And hiding what they did wasn't an option anymore. After the envelope arrived, I waited. I didn't cash the check. I didn't say thank you. I didn't reply to the note. I just placed it in the back of my desk drawer and left it there, like a piece of evidence, not a resolution. There was something about the line, "Please don't tell anyone else," that unsettled me more than the fraud itself. It wasn't about making things right. It was about saving face. 2 days later, I got a text from my cousin, Shane. He's Uncle Jerry's son. We're not super close, but he keeps tabs on the family drama like it's a part-time job. He asked straight up, "Yo, did your mom take out a loan in your name?" I stared at the screen for a second. Me. What? Shane. Grandpa mentioned something. Said he overheard her talking about needing to consolidate something fast before Brandon notices. Sounded sketchy. He thought it was about that card stuff, but now I'm not sure. That night, I logged into my credit report again. My heart was pounding. The fraud alert should have blocked anything new. But just in case, I looked at the recent inquiries section again. And there it was. 3 days earlier, personal loan application, Green Pine Credit Union. Not under Kayla's name. Under mine. I checked the status. It had been denied, likely because of the alert I had placed. But still. They tried again. Someone in my own family had tried to open another account in my name after everything that happened, after the meeting, after the envelope. That's when I realized the check wasn't an apology. It was a bribe. A payment to keep me quiet while they figured out another angle. I didn't sleep that night. I started going back through every document I had ever signed that involved my family. Every form, every shared account, every co-signed anything. I found 3 more loose threads. A cell phone contract from years ago that I thought had been closed. A dormant PayPal account linked to my name, still active. And a medical bill in collections that I know wasn't mine. Everything started to feel connected. I called my lawyer the next morning and explained everything. Not just the card, or the lease, but the loan attempts, the possible identity theft trail, and the new inquiry. He told me to get everything in writing, gather copies, and prepare for the possibility that this wasn't over. Then he asked a question that stuck in my head for the rest of the day. Are you sure it was just Kayla? Because that's the part one hadn't considered. The part one didn't want to consider. What if it wasn't just her? What if this whole time, it had been more than just one entitled sister abusing the family ATM? What if Mom had been doing this for years, and I had been too trusting to see it? As I sat with that thought, I remembered something else. A credit card I'd applied for in college, one I never actually used because I was too paranoid about interest rates back then. I looked it up. 0 balance. But not 0 transactions. In the last 6 months alone, someone had used it 3 times. Once at a hotel near Santa Barbara. Once at a high-end furniture store. and once at a custom jewelry shop downtown. All purchases under $1,000. All just small enough not to trigger alerts. All completely unfamiliar. I called the card company, asked for the footage of whoever picked up the in-store order from the furniture place. They said they'd start pulling the logs. Told me they'd get back to me in 48 hours. Now I wait. And whatever's coming next, I'm done being surprised. 49 hours later, I got the call. A manager from the furniture store, very polite, very careful, told me the footage had been pulled. The item was a walnut and leather office chair, purchased for $960, picked up in person 2 weeks ago. She said the person who claimed it used my name, showed ID, and even signed a pickup confirmation. I asked for the footage. She hesitated. Said she could only release it if I filed a formal report with law enforcement and had them contact the store directly. I thanked her, hung up, and didn't waste a second. I drove straight to the police station and filed an expanded report. Not just for the debit card, not just for the lease application, but for the pattern. The credit cards. The inquiries. The confirmed in-person pickup using my name. I brought every document, printed screenshots, even the cashier's check they'd sent me. I gave them everything. That same night, I got a call from the detective assigned to the case. She'd be following up with Green Pine Credit Union, the furniture store, and the leasing office. She told me, very directly, that I should prepare myself. If this was a coordinated effort involving forged documents, stolen identification, or repeat offenses, it wouldn't just stay on paper. The next morning, I got a call from Grandpa. He asked if I had a minute. Said he needed to tell me something. He said he'd overheard my mom talking to someone on the phone weeks before everything blew up. Talking numbers. She'd mentioned Brandon's good credit, and said she was handling it. At the time, he hadn't thought much of it, figured maybe it was just her usual controlling tone. Then he said something that chilled me. She also said, "Don't worry, he'll never press charges. He's not that kind of person." That's when it clicked. They hadn't just assumed I'd forgive them. They'd relied on it. Not just Kayla. Not just Mom. Maybe even Dad. Maybe this whole time, I had been their backup plan, their second wallet, their invisible cosigner. That night, I got a knock on my door. It was Uncle Jerry. He handed me a folder. Inside was a copy of a document, a joint loan application from 4 years ago with both my name and my mom's signature. I'd never seen it before. He said he found it in an old drawer at his place, tucked behind a stack of paperwork my mom had left there, for safekeeping, years ago. He'd never opened it. Never looked. Until now. It listed me as a co-borrower on a $15,000 personal loan. A loan that had been paid off, slowly, over the course of 3 years, right out of an account I'd closed during a banking transition. I never noticed because the statements were being sent to my parents' house. This had been going on longer than I thought. The next day, the detective called again. She confirmed they'd spoken to the store. The ID used to pick up the furniture wasn't fake, it was a copy of mine. An old driver's license I'd lost years ago and never replaced because I assumed it had been shredded at the DMV. That was it. I gave the detective the green light to press charges. Against whoever was responsible, even if it meant my mother. Even if it meant Kayla. Even if it meant both. I didn't go to the house again. I didn't answer their texts. I didn't respond to the long, emotional email Mom sent 2 days later, blaming stress, family pressure, and a moment of poor judgment. Uncle Jerry and Grandpa stood by me through the whole thing. 3 weeks later, the charges were filed. Quietly. No drama. No screaming matches. Just a court notice, and a process that began without my interference. The legal system would take it from there. As for me, I changed everything. Bank accounts, phone number, passwords, even the locks on my door. I started therapy. Cut off contact with every family member who stayed silent, including both my brothers, who thought I was taking things too far. I didn't care anymore. The real lesson wasn't about the money, or the lies, or even the betrayal. It was this. People will take everything from you if they believe you won't stop them. They'll wrap it in family, wrap it in guilt, wrap it in tradition, but at the core, it's theft. Whether it's your identity or your boundaries. I used to think protecting everyone was love. Now I know protecting yourself is love too. And the only people still in my life are the ones who respect that. It's been a couple of months since everything blew up. I've kept my distance, new accounts, new number, no contact. The house is quiet. My world feels smaller, but safer. Then a letter showed up. No return address, just my name on the envelope. I knew the handwriting. It was from Kayla. No apology. No emotion. Just a few lines, the last of which stuck with me. You're not the only one who's been used. No context. No explanation. Just that. I didn't respond. The next day, Uncle Jerry dropped by with something else, a screenshot from one of Kayla's locked social profiles. In the background of a selfie was a whiteboard with a list of names and credit scores. Mine was there. Next to it. Too clean now. She's doing this to other people. And now, it's officially a criminal investigation.